All right, welcome to the last Meetup with Morgan for 2018. Today we have Director Morgan and Chief of Staff Melissa Lineberger here with us today. So as always, text me at the number that's listed below in the comments section, and we will try and get to all the questions at the end of the broadcast. And now I'm going to turn it over to Director Morgan to start us off.
Well, hello, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hope you like my hat. Caley and Melissa helped me pick that out to wear today. But didn't know which hat to put on today. So anyway, a couple of things. Happy holidays. I hope everybody's doing well and enjoying some time with your families. A couple of updates we want to give on a few things that we've been working on. First of all, this is actually a couple things from this week, from the leadership team meeting. One, I know many of you have expressed interest in a chaplaincy program, on peer support programs and all those. We're hearing that from all over the state. We're hearing it from all different sections, from all different folks. Long story short is Chris Burnett came to me and had a conversation with Father Brad Noonan. Many of you out there, I'm sure, know Father Brad. And he wanted to visit with us a little bit. So I thought, boy, what a good way to get things kicked off. So we had a leadership team meeting. We had Father Brad show up, had all the section chiefs there except for Jerry, who just happened to be out in Rocky Ford doing some fire investigation work. And yep, he had some folks with him too, right? Oh, Mark had to go to the National Fire Academy, but he had representation there. So anyway, so what we decided in that meeting is we basically had Father Brad do a presentation to us on chaplaincy programs. And what we kind of decided is we don't want to reinvent the wheel, but we want to make sure that the wheel we pick is the right wheel for us, and we make sure that it's doing what we expect it to do. So each of the section chiefs will be sending out some information, requesting feedback, input, folks that want to serve in that capacity to help coordinate, putting together a peer support program to whatever focus we decide is best for us to put that all together. The lightning rod for the project will be Lisa Pine. So for those of you out there that are interested in helping us with this project, Lisa Pine will be the lightning rod, and she will be coordinating a meeting with those of you that are interested. And then from there, Lisa will be facilitating and meeting with Father Brad. And actually, Father Brad has agreed to come to meet with all of you on this project, and so that we can start building it from the ground up, starting with looking at what we expect it to do and how we expect it to do it. And then from there, of course, we'll obviously be doing a lot of partnerships and collaboration across the state with CDPS sister agencies, as well as many communities out there, make sure we fill those gaps. So I wanted to get everybody kind of an update, because we hear that pretty much everywhere we go. What are we doing about the peer support? So long story short is we wanted to make sure we got the decision-making authority down to the information, which is important. So get it down there where we can get it done. So the other item that I wanted to update and just everybody on, because this is another one that we often hear a lot about, and actually a few back of these meetups with Morgan when Executive Director Hilke was here, there were some conversations around the retirement programs for the law enforcement, for the troopers and the agents versus the firefighters. And we talked a little bit about how those were programs that were run through the Department of Public Safety employee organization, that those are difficult to get up through the decision item process. So lo and behold, I was at the Capitol at some testimony here recently. I got introduced to a gentleman by the name of Bill Skews, who Bill is a lobbyist, and one of the groups that he represents is the CDPS employee organization. So he's kind of that guy that can help us facilitate and coordinate. So again, this is kind of I told the leadership team this, but wanted to get this out a little broader. You know, as we've talked on many occasions, we need to form some groups that are having some conversations, putting some sideboards on what we're trying to do, and that's kind of our go-to guy. So we want to get that, empower some groups to start working on some more of these projects that are important, near and dear to all of us, and yet for those of us that are inside the Kipling campus, sometimes there's a lot of important things we just don't ever have time to get to. So we want to get the attention to it, to the people that can do that. So with that, I think I'll jump into, I'm going to jump in and out. Melissa is here with me, and I'm going to try to turn this so you can catch both of us. So we're going to kind of tag team a few of these items. The first one is it's been super busy, which is I think normal. Seems to be anyway. But just came back from the new Sheriff's Institute, the County Sheriffs of Colorado. They do a 2-week program for all new sheriffs that come. They're required to come and take this training to learn what they really got themselves into by becoming a sheriff. So there were 27 new sheriffs elected in November of this year. There are 64 counties, so that's about half. So we had about an hour and a half to talk to them about CDH, the Division of Homeland Security Emergency Management Programs, including the Kayak Office of Emergency Management and their grants program. They wanted the search and rescue programs squeezed into there, and then all of the fire programs squeezed into there as well. So we had about 30 minutes to speak with the sheriffs to try to educate them on how fire works in Colorado, and 30 minutes is not near enough. So Vaughn was there with me at that. We will be sending out the information that we shared with them. With the broadest message to them was to get in contact with your local DFPC folks, with your battalion chiefs, district chiefs. We gave them their contact information and really to start that communication soon. There was a lot of, I will say, wide eyes in the room going, gee, I didn't realize it was quite this much in the brochure. But anyway, the other pieces and parts going on, we, of course, did the SMART Act hearing, which is where we talk about the strategic policy initiatives. And I'm going to let Melissa make a few comments on that. She jump in?
Yeah, so we met with the Joint Judiciary Committee, which has members of both the House and the Senate on it. And what they want to know is sort of what have we done in the last year? So not really any official decision-making authority, but sort of an update on all of our accomplishments. So thanks to you guys, we had some really cool stuff that we could update them on. Technical assists by the wildlands section. You guys had 423 technical assists and a grand total of 54,147 hours on incident response. And that's up from, I believe, 47,000 last year. So a huge bump, and that's an exciting thing for us to get to tell all the good work you guys are doing out there supporting local jurisdictions with the crazy fire season we had. The professional qualifications and training section coordinated training for 2,325 first responders in 2018. So huge numbers, nice work. That section with the addition of the 4 new trainers was able to train 3 times as many firefighters on the mobile live fire training unit since June 1st as they were from July 1st, from January 1st to June 30th. And we have those numbers, but I thought that was pretty cool. It showed the value of having added those positions, which I don't think anybody's asked questions about because we've heard nothing but good things about what those folks are doing in the field. Fire investigation section, we talked about all the good work that Jerry's done and all the support that we've been able to provide him through our other fire investigators in the fire and life safety section. Fire and life safety section, speaking of, has seen a 13% increase in building plan reviews this year and a 23% increase in building construction inspections. And then the Center of Excellence continues to do exciting work. Ben Miller came to me yesterday and he said, ATAC's blowing up. So I think that's pretty exciting. If you have questions about the Colorado Fire Prediction System or about ATAC, what is ATAC? What is TAC? Do you not know what that acronym is? Why don't you call Brad Schmidt? He'll tell you all about it. So it was really exciting to get to share all of that information. And at the end, their eyes were sort of big because I don't think they really understand how much work we get to do out in our communities. And so thank you guys for giving us really good stats.
Yeah, went as Melissa said, went really well. And I think some of the other things, there's a lot of, I should back up and say, of course, with the County Sheriff's Colorado, with the SMART Act hearing, with the Judiciary Committee, every one of those has ended with thank you to DFPC and what a great job everybody's doing and how much better it continues to get. So it's kudos to everybody for a lot of good work and a lot of hard work and just, making a difference out there, which is I mean, let's face it, that's why we got into this business. We wanted to get up and make somebody's day better, and you guys are all doing it. So we can't say how much we appreciate that. The other piece, as we were walking out of the SMART Act hearing was we got asked a lot of questions about the Fire Programs Commission, which is, kind of got wiggled around a little bit, kind of up in the air. But
Mike, what is the Fire Programs Commission?
Good question, Melissa. Thanks. So I should give a little update, huh? So the Fire Programs Commission, basically, after we've done all of this strategic planning, we've identified all of these various gaps in what the customer's expectation is, and what of DFPC. Once we've spent 2 years evaluating that, and then we've got some things that we can do internally, and there's some things we can't do internally. We've got to have that horsepower to actually get the resources to get things done. So as we went through that entire process and we identified all of these things, and while we started the program, the travel around the state playbook, if you will, was initially pretty focused on wildland, but we knew it was going to morph, because we're the go-to agency for Colorado's fire service, and they have additional expectations of us. So that grew into, of course, the quadrant model, and and the different programs that we should have in each quadrant. And then in order to actually accomplish those, and actually to be able to make them do the things that we need them to do, there's policy change, there's legislative changes, there's a whole bunch of pieces and parts that have to come into play to actually realize all of those things. So we decided, based on the success we had with the working groups of having folks from all over the state representing from all disciplines that are stakeholders, telling us what their expectations were, that worked well enough, we should put together something with teeth. We called that a Fire Programs Commission. We got it out of the chutes well. It came through Wildfire Matters Review Committee. It got bogged down in some political things. And
that never happens.
No, never happens. So we kind of backed off for a little while, and then I was really pleased to hear at the SMART Act hearing, which really wasn't necessarily a place that topic would have come up so much, but it came up very much. The executive director spoke in favor of it. Multiple legislators from both sides of the aisle were on board with it, talked about how important it is. So we're pretty excited about that too, that's kind of getting back on track. So, and
it became a department legislative priority.
Yes,
which we found out because it ended up in the presentation, and we said, great, we love that. And Cooper, our new legislative liaison, came to our leadership team meeting on Tuesday to learn about all of our programs, and updated us yesterday that he was going to be meeting with some legislators today about the Fire Programs Commission. So even before the legislative session starts, it's on people's radars, and we feel really excited about the opportunity that's going to create for us.
Yes, I think it's a tremendous opportunity for all of us. So we're really looking forward to that. And then, of course, once we get done with this, we're changing gears. The Joint Budget Committee hearings are coming up. We had, there's one. The process is basically the Legislative Committee, the Joint Budget Committee. They get questions or have questions, and they get with their staff, and they come back to the department and go to the various divisions and ask us questions about how does this work, and there's a lot of moving parts. Explain to us this and that and the other. So we've gone through that process, which was last Friday. They did that. And then from last Friday, they have follow-up questions that then they pose to us, and then the division directors and the executive director then go to the Joint Budget Committee and do a presentation and answer those questions in person, and field the other questions that will come. Nonetheless, we know there's a lot of questions around it. I thought it was kind of interesting to watch, when we looked at the stack of answers, that the replies to questions for most of the divisions were a page, and ours is closer to 6 pages. We had a lot of questions about, how does this work? How does that work? And why are, wirefire's big and bad and ugly and all those things, and why it's getting worse. And so we think it's a good opportunity to visit with those folks a little bit about it. So we go there tomorrow afternoon. So when we're done with this, we'll be doing the final tweaking on the answering questions and presentations that go along with that.
So that's at 1:30 tomorrow. If you have an interest in listening to that from wherever you are, you can. If you just Google Colorado General Assembly and you click on the link for committee information, and it's year-round and interim committees, you click on the Joint Budget Committee, and there's actually a link there so you can listen to the hearing. Department of Revenue is that morning if you're really interested in things like gambling and marijuana enforcement. You can listen to the Department of Revenue hearing, but more interesting, starting at 1:30, will be the Department of Public Safety. So it's scheduled from 1:30 to 4:30 tomorrow. And if you want to listen in and hear how some of that goes, we welcome you to do that. And one other thing we discovered yesterday is one of the Joint Budget Committee members used to be on the EFF committee as a county commissioner. So we think that'll work in our favor. We have somebody who has some inside information and has been involved in the large fire funding conversation for a long time. And that's Dennis Heisey, who's out of Colorado Springs. He was an El Paso County Commissioner for a while. So that was kind of a happy discovery for us. But feel free to listen, and we'll provide you with an update after that as well, if we learn anything important that we think folks might want to know about.
And let us know if you're going to be listening, because if they ask us a really challenging question, we might entertain our option to phone a friend. So you just never know what they're going to ask. So let's see. Moving on, the next thing we'll talk a little bit about is leaders' intent. The wildland section had their annual meeting in Glenwood here a couple of weeks ago, and every year, actually every spring, every fall, we do a leaders' intent piece of that. And as we were doing that, and Caley came to me and said she wanted to film it, we talked about it a little bit, and that the important part is that the leaders' intent is not that's leaders' intent for the division. That's not leaders' intent for Wolfmas or any particular. It's for our organization and what we're doing and how we're going about doing it. So Caley was there and of course videotaped that, and I believe that will be coming out in the next couple weeks, that it will be available. I don't get any fees or anything for you watching it. All voluntary, completely up to you. So
what a guy.
But there's a couple of things I guess I'd like to share. We talked about a little bit at the leadership team meeting as well, is that I think you guys all know, or those that have not heard this straight from Melissa or I or from your section chief, we've been having a lot of conversations around mandatory meetings and this and that and the other, participation and all those things. And to be real honest with you, I'm just not a fan of that. And when I talk a little bit about leaders' intent, that'll probably come out a little bit more why of that. But that's why the holiday party, when we do the strategic planning and some of that stuff at the end of February, is to be real honest with you, we'd rather have people that want to be there because it's important to them and it's a value to them, than telling somebody you got to take another weekend away from your family, or that we want people there for the right reasons. And I'll get into that a little bit more on leaders' intent, but again, part of walking through those processes of leaders' intent, we want to make sure that you guys, everybody has the opportunity to kind of hear what our expectations are. And I kind of started the group, and I'm start here with just a real summary of it, is to go, we have a strategic plan in place. We're going to continue to update that. We have a playbook that's in place, which really paints some pretty specific vision of intent, of beginning with the end in mind, of what we're really trying to accomplish. We have those pieces and parts in there. So to me, you get leaders' intent, which is typically, if you Google that, you're going to come up with a NWCG definition that says that it's a clear, concise statement regarding what people need to do or must do to succeed in their assignment. And I think my leader's intent for those of you that respond to incidents or get yourself in, in those risky situations, is my leader's intent is risk little to save little. Really do that evaluation, risk benefit analysis. If I've got great opportunity for success and great opportunity to save lives and property, I'm going to risk more to do that. But once that starts going down and the benefits start going down with that, the risk is going to go down accordingly. And that's my leader's intent. You guys know that I'm a firm believer in everyone goes home in those programs, and everybody goes home safely. That's my intent from that. When you get into leader's intent, which I think is a ton of it, where we've got so much defined in strategic planning, playbooks, and all these other things, the leader's intent piece that we're maybe not as often as hitting on is the culture. How do you do it? How do you actually pull that off? So leader's intent for an emergency is completely different than leader's intent for an organization and how we operate in the way we do business. So a lot of this video that Caley shot spent a lot of time talking about, the culture and how organizations, every organization has a culture, and you can either come up, it's going to morph and be whatever it's going to be, or it's going to be an intentional culture. And we had a lot of conversations. I was really excited, actually. There's a lot of folks that will all come out and go through the organization, jump in here anytime you want, Melissa. But when I showed up, they were working on talking about creating an intentional culture. So, to me, that's huge. That is really, really cool stuff to say, that it's who we are. It's not somebody saying, "Hey, we need to do this." It's who we are. So you were part of that. Is there some stuff you want to add, kind of, to some of that?
Yeah, we actually started working on developing a guiding principles document, and that was, again, really exciting work. And we found that we actually did have more of a culture than we had sort of given ourselves credit for. And we started to think back, and those of you who don't get the opportunity to be around Mike every day and hear some of his catchphrases or watch him hang out on the soapbox, maybe don't have these things ingrained as much. And so we thought writing them down and putting them into a document that were, sort of playing with the idea of calling it guiding principles, but things like hire the heart, train the hands, and help Mrs. Smith, and the decision making at the lowest appropriate level, and getting some feedback around where there have been some challenges, like, hey, with the leader's intent, we need some stuff that's written down. We need this direction somewhere where it's accessible, and when we have a new employee who's asking questions, we can send them there. And that became part of our sort of guiding principles. When things are important, hey, we write them down and we make them accessible to folks. And so there's still a lot of work to do, but I think we're at a point where we want to say, what do we like about the cultures that we've all brought into this organization? What can we keep? What makes sense? And what needs to be part of our past and not part of our future? So I love being a part of this stuff, and I appreciate the opportunity to do that. And like Mike said, we'll be sending some information out and giving you the opportunity to comment. Because when we brought it up at the leadership team meeting, Chris said, hey, one of our big things is it's not about me, it's about we, and we're about them. And so Chris really wanted to see that go into, Chris Burnett wanted to see that sort of make it into our guiding principles. And so if you guys have things like that that are running through the organization that you think should be a part of that, we want to hear about it.
The one that really jumped out at me was the failing forward. Why don't you hit that one? I think that was a good one.
Yeah, this is a favorite of mine. So one thing that I found that I've learned in this position and in my previous position at the Center of Excellence is how important it is that we assume good intentions from one another. So when someone makes a decision and falls on their face, we don't need to look at them and say, yeah, nice job, don't ever do that again, right? We want to look at them and say, oh, wow, you have really good intentions with that. You were trying to think big, you were trying to do good things. And I'm going to assume the best intentions from your actions instead of assuming that you were trying to break something or that you were going about it for the wrong reasons. And so that culture of being able to fail forward gives us room to dream big and to try new things, which is the only way we're really going to grow as an organization. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, I thought that one was really impressive to me. I really like that one as well. And as a culture is that, I know that we make decisions and are forced to, and we're making them with the best decision, and you do it at your level as well. We do that with the best information we have at hand. and that some of those decisions are not popular, but there's no intent, no malintent for that, and that when we make a mistake, which we all will do, we're only human, is to learn from those, pick ourselves back up, learn from those mistakes, and move forward. So,
and one of the other ones that came up during the meeting was sort of thinking firefighters do it differently, and the importance of leaning forward with new technology and being a leader in the fire service. We have a center of excellence, and we should really be utilizing those folks. And something we'll talk about in a little bit is how Fire and Life Safety is using drones to keep their folks safer, because they're not having to climb on as many ladders or on as many roofs, because they're able to fly those drones over the top to do some of their inspections. And so another part of our culture, as we sort of give ourselves room to fail, is giving ourselves permission to try new technology and give honest feedback for if it works or if it doesn't, and to continue to develop and be the leader in the wildland fire arena and the structure fire and the fire inspections and fire prevention and fire investigations and fire training arena. We have so much opportunity here, and I think it's really important that we continue to sort of push the envelope and be that technology leader.
Yeah, for sure. And it's we've talked about it, and we continue to talk about it. We'll continue to talk about it. We live in an ever-changing world. By the time you walk out of the store with your cell phone, it's obsolete. So it's a changing world. It adapts much quicker than we normally do as humans. And I think, moving on to some of the culture and leaders' intent as it relates to culture is, there's a couple of different schools of thoughts out there, and I'm a firm believer in one, and I'm sure this will come as a shocker to all of you. But there's two schools of thought. One is that people are stupid, and that they can't do anything on their own, and that if they make a mistake, it's because they're stupid and they deserve to be punished.
And that's the one you believe in,
That's
right?
the one I believe in. The other school of thought is that people want to be part of a successful team. They want to do good. They want to do positive impact on the world, their career, their coworkers, and everybody around them. Now, I'm sure that statistically there is probably less than 0.5% of the population that falls into that first category of people. And I'm not here to talk to you. That's a whole different. I don't think we have any of them, to be honest with you. Because if you have those type of people, that's a whole different topic. That's a whole different animal. Most people want to do good. And when they make a mistake, it's not because they're making a decision with the best information they had available to them at the time. Support that, learn from it, and quite honestly, I think those all of as leaders, and every one of you is that we're hard on ourselves, and we even learn from our successes. How can we do it a little better next time? So I think that's an important component of leaders' intent too. I also thought it was really important to point out, as I was doing this leaders' intent thing, is that we are making a difference. This organization is, we need to celebrate successes, and Paul Duarte was good to point that out in the wildland section of, we always get together and go, boy, this isn't right, and this isn't right. We need to tweak this. And then it's, every now and then we need to stop, smell the roses and go, man, look at where we've been. Look at how far we've come. And so don't ever forget those wins and those successes. Don't ever get so hard on, today's project that you don't look at yesterday's wins that got you the opportunity to work on that project today. We're doing more right now than we ever have. It was kind of interesting. One of the conversations I had with county sheriffs this morning, that there was, I will say that's not the right word, but almost a borderline criticism of how well the division did in supporting them. And pretty soon, Vaughn was like, "You're from this county, aren't you?" And he's like, "Well, yes, I am." And Vaughn said, "Well, we did. We talked to the group. Said, with all due respect, that was in 2012. I think we were running with 2 FMOs covering the entire state in a really, really, really bad fire year, and a completely new transition, and just what was really cool about it." Which really drives this point home is the number of, because I asked, I think you'll get a different perception or perspective from the sheriffs that use us today. And overwhelmingly, any sheriff in the room has used our services. And I hear that everywhere we go, and from each of our sections. You know, I can't go anywhere without hearing, we love what you guys are doing. You know, so always remember that. Don't forget where we came from, you know, and you know, it's important to know, in order to know where you're going, you must first know where you've been, right? And there's a lot of truth to that. Don't forget that history, but hold on to the good traditions and the good history, and improve on the things that need to be improved on, and let go of bad tradition. So here's kind of another thing I wanted to throw out, which is kind of how and I'll kind of move on from this particular topic, but I was at a class here 3 weeks ago, and the keynote speaker was a gentleman from Salt Lake City, Utah, and I'm drawing a blank on his name at the moment, but he started his presentation, which I thought was just brilliant, because again, I've never just heard it put in these words, but it's something that that really rung true to me when it comes back to why we're trying to, you know, not have as many mandatory things and those types of things. As he started his presentation, and he said, as a leader, would you prefer a staff that is compliant or committed? And I think that's a brilliant question. And to me, that is just the aha of the culture and the leader's intent of what we want, and what the culture we're trying to establish is. Committed employees and committed staff are compliant, but they're compliant for the right reasons, because they believe in what we're doing. They know we're making a difference. They're part of the team. They're part of that bigger picture of success. And that's the culture we want. You know, we don't want to have meetings or trainings or this or that or the other. I mean, obviously there's some trainings. I'll back that one out a little bit, because, you know, not everybody wants to, you know, do SABA training, but, you know, guess what? We kind of got to, but you know what I mean when I say we want people that want to be there, to be a part of the team. They see the bigger picture, the bigger cause, and there isn't a piece in the cog, you know, in the gears, that if one of those is out, we can't be as successful. You know, it doesn't matter where you're at, you know, at any one of our locations across the state, whether it's in, you know, a firefighter, a training, you know, folks in fire billing, or answering phones, or it's all part of a machine that we all have to understand that bigger picture. But so yeah, we want a committed staff, we want compliant because you're committed. And that's really the culture we're really trying to establish.
That said, if you missed the holiday party, you missed a heck of a good time. And just real quick, I'll plug, we did calendars again this year. Some of you will be upset to know, and some of you will be happy to know, we did not include your birthdays this year. But if you need a calendar and you were not at the holiday party, we have a boatload of them here. And if you have folks from around the state who are going to be coming to Kipling, or you want us to ship them out to you, let us know, and we'll make sure that you get a calendar for next year. That's my plug.
Okay, there we go. Jumping on, moving forward here, we've kind of hit on unless there's anything else you want to hit, the playbook and strategic planning.
Do you want to talk about sort of the two specific things that we covered with the leader's intent, as far as performance management plans and?
Yeah, I think that's another thing very much. And so the part of that is that kind of came out and wanted to make sure we got this, you know, across the division, is there were some questions asked, was that there were some folks under the impression that in the PMP process that employee could not be given a score of a 3. Could not be given a score of a 3. And the answer to that is wrong answer.
Not true.
Not true at all.
We're on the record.
Right. Yeah, we evaluate our employees for their performance. That's what it's all about. You know, if you can't get a 3, then don't put it on there. So if it's on there, you are eligible to get that, as long as you're doing that level of work.
In that same subject matter, Lisa Pine did roll out to us on Tuesday at the leadership team meeting. She's on a professional development committee for the department, that they are going to be rolling out a new PMP form. And that's hopefully going to be a little more meaningful and actually a little more user-friendly. So keep an eye out for that. It's going to be rolled out probably in January.
Yeah, I was really excited to see that as well. That's the first time I got a chance to see it, but it seemed to have some more additional focus on what I'll call soft skills. It's great to evaluate people if they're good at changing light bulbs, if that's what you hired them to do. But can they do it with a smile on their face? Are they a team player? Are they they go help their partners and those types of things. So I thought there was really it was nice to see some soft skill focus on some of that. So the other I'll ask you, which was another question that came up here recently, was can I talk to HR?
I'm glad you asked that, Mike. Yes, you can. If you have a question that you think needs, you have an HR question, that's why we have HR folks here. And if there's ever any backlash for you communicating with HR, we want to know about that, because that's not the culture we're trying to create, right? If you have a question about your benefits, or somebody asked a great question: is there ever going to be an option other than United for folks on the Western Slope? And it's a great question. Call Rhonda Johnson and ask her if she can advocate for us to DPA to try to get another option that maybe works better for folks. And so if it's something that can be handled, or that you think might be in the works internally, certainly ask your supervisor, hey, what's going on with this thing? And if they don't know, hey, I'm going to reach out to HR. But if you have something that you don't feel comfortable talking to your supervisor about, HR is the right place to go. So we just want to make that clear.
Right, and I think there's a fine line in some of those things. We're a paramilitary organization. It's what we are, and I think there's use your common sense and logic. Should I talk to my supervisor about this? Am I going outside of the chain of command? Is it something I should go outside of the chain of command for? And just ask yourself that question. And even if it's something, if you go, well, my supervisor doesn't know this, give them the common courtesy to say, hey, I don't know about this. I'm looking at Melissa because I was like, hey, I don't know about that. Can you tell me? It's okay to go out and do those things. Just use your common sense and logic on the chain of command, when what is appropriate and what is not appropriate to go to HR with. And but that's a resource. The state employee assistance programs, and different benefits questions that's the right place to go to get them answered. So. Let's see, workload analysis.
Workload analysis.
Jumping on that one.
We have one more panel to do. We're doing agreements and contracts next week on Tuesday, I believe, and then we will be done. Our leadership team at the retreat did get together and look at all of the pain points that have come out of all of those panels, and start to look at, actually, we've done a lot of work on those. The new regional trainers helped us fix some of those problems. The new battalion chiefs that we're adding are going to help us decrease some of the workload for those folks who had huge county areas. And so that was exciting for us to see, but there's still work to be done. And so the final panel is next week, and then we'll be doing next steps at our employee retreat in February, March of 2019.
Yes, so that was strong work to everybody, and I want to reiterate what Melissa said. It was really, we the whole leadership team got together and looked at those pain points, and it was amazing to me to go, man, we're addressing this one and this one and this one and this one. This whole process will help us in justification as to why it's important for some of the stuff. It will help provide the testimony, if you will, in justification when we're asking for additional things that are within the strategic planning and playbook stuff. It's all coming together nicely. So I think when everybody sees all of that and compare it all, I think it was really exciting for me, and I think for the whole leadership team to see all of that. So Melissa, you've already kind of hit on it. I'm making sure.
Yeah.
Caley's probably going to be tapping on her watch here.
She got
I kind of got that from the county sheriffs too. They kind of got the sheepers yanked off the stage. So employee retreat, which is optional, but February 28th, March 1st and 2nd. Which again, it is optional. We want folks that are excited about being a part of the strategic planning process. And I know you had anything else you want to add on that?
Mount Princeton Hot Springs outside of Salida. The 2nd is a Saturday, so we are encouraging you to bring your families, and we're going to do, I said picnic, but it's March, so probably an indoor lunch event where there'll be chairs and you don't have to sit on the ground. So picnic, but invite your families, and they're welcome to be there for the whole time. We'll be sending out an RSVP and a little more information in the coming week. So save the date. We hope you can join us.
All right. Thank you. Probably a lot of the other things that at least has a lot of buzz going on around here and all around the Capitol and everything else is the transition to the new administration and all of the new legislators and all of those things. So everything is an unknown, if you will, right now. We know that they're doing interviews for executive director. Stan is in the running for that, has applied for that, but we don't know. I'll be real open and honest and say I hope Stan stays. I think for those of you that've been around for a while, that the work that the department as a whole is doing and pulling together as a team is impressive. It's headed in the right direction, and we're hopeful we continue to go that way. So, but as soon as we know more, we'll get that out to you. But at this point in time, we get asked a lot, what do we know, what do we hear, and we don't hear much. So everything's kind of up in the air, but we'll keep you posted. The new administration, the inauguration, everything, of course, officially takes place on January 8th. It's not on there, but that's my birthday. So.
What's more important, getting a new governor or celebrating Director Morgan?
Yeah, so.
That's a pretty clear answer.
Yeah. So we also anticipate a very busy legislative session. I think when you look at overall, anytime you have the second largest fire season in history, and then the message we've been trying to communicate out there, and I'm sorry, I know this is repetitive to some of you, but again, to make sure it's we're consistent, is if you look at the 20 largest fires in Colorado's history, 5 of those occurred in 2018, so 25% of them in 2018. 13 of the 20, 65%. Occurred since 2010, so in this decade, and 100% of them, all 20 of them, have occurred since 2000. So it is time for thinking firefighters doing it different to reevaluate. What the status quo was not good enough. So we've been having those conversations with a lot of folks, and that's across the board. I think another real quick example of doing it the same way we've been doing it, where it wasn't meeting needs, was the regional trainers. And we heard that loud and clear that that they wanted some more support out there. So we've had in September, October, from a lot of things coming across our desk of what are the fiscal impacts. Busier than not that I've been here a long time, but from everybody I've talked to, much busier than even close to what we would call a normal year. So we think it's going to be a busy year. We're going to be we think we're hoping to be successful with. But again, we all knew that that's why we wanted the playbook. We wanted everything put together. Is that we wanted, when they said, "What do you need?" or "What can we do about it?" is that we had an answer. And I think one of the other things that I probably should hit a little bit on leaders' intent, because I think it's important for everybody to hear this. And you guys, some of you have heard my soapbox about the difference between influence and control. And as it relates to the playbook and leaders' intent and that and outcomes, is that the whole process that we have gone through is, it's customer driven. That's the leader's intent, is customer driven, and where we're going is customer driven. And we spoke with 400 plus stakeholders to help them determine to us what, in my message to the wildland section, and you'll see it in the video if you watch it, was that it is less about what my vision is or what Melissa's vision is or Bonds or Stan's than it is about the customer. And so we're a very customer-driven business. And so a lot of that thing and how we're going is driven by that. So, and we've got a lot of folks, again, that are like what we're doing, like where we're going. And that's a kudos to you, because you guys are the ones doing that. It's not us, it's you guys. We're just, I like how Stan's put it. We just try to create enough space and give you the tools to do what you need to do to be successful. So let's see.
Do we want to take some questions before we actually do not have to?
Oh, no questions.
Oh.
So I've got one. No, I've got lots of questions actually, but so I guess we'll give it a couple more minutes for that. We'll check that before we sign out. But I think we've kind of said it, but I think you can't say it enough. Is thank you for all that you do. We had a crazy busy year, and it was really neat to see the team pull together. To watch. From each section, people going over and helping out this section or this group. Not because it was their job, it's because it was the right thing to do, and their partner needed help, and that was really cool to see. And then often I think I get to hear it more than maybe some of you do, is again, like going to county sheriffs and listening to them say, listening to Sheriff Smith after the 416 fire, which had challenges for everybody. It was very, as he put it, I think it was number 4 or 5 on the list of 20 largest fires. But he told every sheriff in that room, you need to get in contact with DFPC immediately. Don't wait until you do this. He said, do that on Monday. So that's a tribute to the good work that everybody's doing across the board. And so that's thank you. And we appreciate it. Keep it up. Let's see, bold leadership. We have notes here, and it cracks me up, again, to look at it, and that it's true. Each section, the bold leadership that's being provided to challenge it and look at it a little bit differently, and how can we do it a little bit better, and really beyond that status quo, which is which we all know that when you stick your head out there a little, somebody's going to try to take a lop at it, right? Somebody's going to take a swing at it. That's leadership, but we're in a time where I don't think we have any choice but to be bold with our leadership, and that's to the staff and the folks within there. It makes our community safer. It makes our state better. And so thank you for all of that. Before we close, we'll check that again.
Yeah.
What else do you have? Anything you want to share with the group?
I'd love to just echo what you said. I think what makes this organization great is the people who work here, and I love getting to brag about how awesome you guys are, and I love that we've been able to create an environment where people enjoy coming to Kipling, I hope. And if you haven't been here in a while, we'd love to see you. And I got a couch in my office, and I'd love to sit down and talk to you about all the cool stuff that you've done this year. The other shout out that I'll give is we had to provide retention and turnover rates to the JBC for this hearing that's coming up tomorrow. And we only have public safety, but throughout public safety, DFPC has the lowest turnover rate of all the divisions. And so thank you guys for all of the hard work that you're doing, and for making it easy to brag about you. And be safe. Have a wonderful holiday. And if you need anything, as always, text Caley.
Any questions?
No
questions. Okay, nobody's watching. That's even better. So no, I would echo thank you to you and your families. Spend some time with your families. Thank your families for everything that they allow you to do to make Colorado a better place. And you guys have a fantastic holiday season. I hope you get to spend a lot of time with friends and family and enjoy it. Stay safe, and God bless.